Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 0 part 2, the return of the two. So yes, we do have the Port Arthur to Fukuoka, set up, more or less. We are looking for another Yusen S class ship. Now, there are some within the actual task forces, so what I'm going to do is really see if we can gain one of those back. I'd like to, if we can, if it's unloaded, well, if it's not carrying troops, I reckon it should be okay. Though it is going to be one of those, we really do have to look at if we can take it out. Right, the USNS. I mean, these ships are so good. So very good. And we only have 10 of them in the entire Empire. Only 10. Shocking, isn't it? Right, Task Force 92 and Task Force 91. So if I take a look at Task Force 91... Wow, okay. Here's 4 of them right here. And you are to invade. Ah, so you're a full-up invasion. So you're carrying just over 4,000 troops, okay. Well, that's actually quite good. To be fair, once this actual amphibious task force does make it to Patani, then we could have it turned around and head back to Japan. Now, I don't like the fact that retirement is allowed. I really dislike that in all of my actual task forces. I don't want them to make that sort of decision as to when they turn around. If I'm punished for it, fine, but I'd rather have that decision making remain in my control. Okay. Hello there, Reminism. How you do, my friend? Yeah, it's a earlier stream. Obviously, with it being Saturday, means I get a little bit more time to stream. Well, I can stream a little bit early, I should say. Probably more accurate. So today, we do have a couple more things we're doing, and we should probably get started with it right away. Now, what I want to do is go back to the cargo planning. And we're going to change... we're going to set up the second convoy today. Ideally more than just one, but we'll go for that. Okay, so pickup will be at Shanghai. There we go, Shanghai. Offload will be at Nagasaki. Okay. Minimum task force. Now, see, do we run with just one task force? Do we run with 2? I think we'll... It's something to take into consideration. That's fantastic then, man. Glad to have you. Right, so what we'll do is we'll figure out the actual distance. I'm going to count the number of hexes. It's, it doesn't matter whether they're 15 knots or 12 knots or something like that. The number of hexes is the same, so it makes it quite easy to work things out in that way. Now that's actually quite a good ship, and it's not a terrible amount of capacity, but still it's pretty good for cargo. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is take you over here, and we'll figure out how many hexes it is to Nagasaki. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Is that on a direct route? Right, that's normal. So if we set that to direct, change it to direct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we'll have that set to direct route. So we'll work with about 12. So that does make me wonder regarding the Port Arthur route. Right, set to direct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so it seems to knock about 2 hexes off of each route. Which isn't going to make a major difference regarding Port Arthur, but we'll work with this new knowledge from now on. Okay, so hexes was... what was that? About 12, was it? We'll just have a quick look again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Superb. 12 hexes. So we can see here, if we're running 2 task forces, we'd only have to have 11 USNSs or 11 Lemurs. Of course, I don't know, it's one of those of, do I run with just one task force, or do I run multiple ones? I think we'll set things up with one in mind, and then we can obviously alter that as we need to. That, and of course, we are going to be creating a task force that can carry the maximum amount, well, the maximum amount of resources, load amount as well, from that port to the other port. So, it's fine, we could always break that in half, really, and we'd still have the same result. Obviously, less resources would be travelling in one convoy, but we could then set it up so maybe as one goes, another returns, and keep it somewhat constant. That sort of refinement will come in later stages, however. Okay, so we're going to pick up a Shanghai, offload at Nagasaki. Resources, 12 hexes, 1 task force. So it seems like the Lima is our best bet here. Though her speed isn't as good. We don't have a huge amount of the USNAs. We do have a decent amount of USNNs. They're pretty interesting. Fuel consumption is slightly higher. Indeed, yeah, fuel per day is slightly higher. They do technically carry more cargo per hex, I believe. Right, that would obviously be because there's an extra ship in the task force, so that does make sense. Load 69,540. 67,375. Okay. So Shanghai can load a total of 73,200 tons of resources per day. Nagasaki can load about 91,000. Now Nagasaki has that greater amount due to the fact of naval support there. So what we will have to do as well is we'll have to move all construction engineers, all naval support, just anything like that, whatever it may be, to these ports and really get that going. Because if we have engineers there, that does increase the rate at which we load and offload, which is ultimately going to mean more resources in Japan sooner rather than later. Okay. So, I am somewhat tempted by the USNNs, as we do have a great amount of them. It's a good mediation between speed and fuel efficiency. Now, we do have a heck of a lot of the Aiden class. They're pretty, well, relatively slow, relatively fuel hungry, and we'd have to have 15 of them in a task force. So ships like that will be saved for the closer runs. So what I'm going to be doing then is I shall use the USNN class of cargo ship. Now, the speed is a little bit lower. So what we'll do is, when we have more USNSs available or USNAs, is we'll have them assigned to these sorts of convoys. But the distance between Shanghai and Nagasaki isn't as great as Port Arthur to Fukuoka. So that's something to bear in mind. So let's go ahead and start by looking for some USNNs then, shall we? What was their cargo capacity? Tonnage, right, 5,795. How are you guys doing today, by the way? Okay, let's find them. Strange. Lima. Right, there we go. USNN. So, 13,000 endurance. And their speed is 15. Okay, maximum speed anyway. cruise speed is 13. Okay, so 13,000 endurance. That makes it fairly easy to figure out. Hello there, Joost. How you doing there, my friend? Right, 30,000, so these are the use and ends, and that's good. We do have a great amount of them. So it's going to be something of an interesting task trying to figure out where they are. But let's see. So for the actual convoy, we need not a huge amount of them, actually. Only 12, which isn't too bad. Indeed. There you go, yeah. Okay, we have 2 of them to begin here. That's fantastic. Makes things a little bit easier. So, this will be obviously named. There we go. I think doing things like this really does make it a lot easier. We can see the class of ship, we can see the task force number, of course, of that ship class, and we can see the number available right there. So it does make things rather simple. So they, of course, had to, head over to Shanghai. Do I have a transport? Sorry, an escort. We probably might do, but what we'll do is we'll assign escort as when we have the convoys worked out. What I need to do as well is really figure out how many destroyers and escorts I actually have within the home isles and China, Korea, that sort of area. Then we'll figure out what we actually could assign to these convoys. The good thing is, with us having only a few convoys, and it's a double-edged sword, I can assure you. But basically, for example, we have Port Arthur to Fukuoka. That means that obviously THG will be aware of this route. He knows this route will be coming. Or Shanghai to Nagasaki, Toyohara here, Hakodate to Ominato. I forget the name of this port, to Owaki. And then we do have another one which would probably head over to Nagoya, but that would probably be from down that way. Like the Philippines, that sort of thing. So in... oh yes, of course, Kijou. And then Fusan to Shimonoseki. Indeed. So that one's meant to go there. We'll have to take a look at the loading capacity, actually. But yes, we have a certain number of shipping lanes here. So that does bring us some advantages, but of course there will be disadvantages. So for example, if I'm able to control this entryway over here in the East China Sea, that would be very good. It would help to protect the Yellow Sea. Now, we do obviously have Honshu in the way, we do have the Japanese islands in the way of these submarines. They can't physically get through Japan, can they, of course? So that does really only leave them with 3 entranceways. Well, technically 4 if you count up here by Sakhalin. So it does make things considerably easier to work out in terms of ASW patrols. I think what we'll probably do then is work to, I don't know, about 3 escorts per convoy, and then the rest of the escorts could be operating freely, which is probably a good idea. So for patrol bases, we could probably use over here, somewhat in the center. Obviously it's not going to be supplied as easily, so it might be worthwhile to instead go off the coast of Korea, Shanghai, of course, even Ningpo, depending on the port size. But Shanghai, Port Arthur, Kijou. Then, of course, Ominato. It would be the easiest one. Depending on the port size, either Toyohara or Wakanai. Depends there, really. Now, we do have plenty of little islands dotted around. If we had an island in the centre, that would have been beautiful. But this could be a good base as well. We'd have to take a look at that. It might be somewhere to launch raids from. Or potentially a tactic here is, rather than having our patrol boats out all at once. So let's say that we're playing a card game. So rather than revealing our hand all at once, or revealing our intentions all at once, we keep something back, we keep something in reserve, something hidden, up our sleeve if you will. So it might be worthwhile to have constant ASW patrols around this area, but then for example, even in this base here or this base here, have a couple patrol squadrons, well, flotillas, kept in reserve, so once we do have a confirmed sighting of a submarine, we could send them out to that area, and only that area, set up the patrol route in just that one area where that submarine is set. So think of it a bit like we have our patrol squadrons, and then we have our hunter-killer squadrons. So I think that could work quite well. Now, as to what we could use for the hunter-killers, that'd be rather interesting. Do we use the best of the best ships, or do we use the best of the best ships on the constant rotation? But then again, it depends on the fuel usage. So we'll have to see. Speed's also something to take into consideration. Hello there, Emil. How you doing, my friend? But yes, we'll talk more on that one in the future. But now on to the N class, as we continue. So we need, as I mentioned, only 12 of them, so that's pretty good. Unless I'm misreading things. I suppose that's due to the, like, for example, if I was to take a look at Port Arthur. Where are we? Yes, Port Arthur. The number does increase to about 15. I mean, we were working at about 18 hexes. Intriguing. Well, what we'll do then is we'll go back, and we'll always have the ability to edit these convoys. So back to Shanghai. Yeah, the nature of time is complicated. That sounds like a Sabaton lyric. I'm pretty sure actually it could be. Right, Shanghai. Yeah, the port size is obviously lower. We do have some in Saigon. That's not too bad then. It's some way distant. It's not that far. It's not as far as going to Port Arthur. Okay, there we go, one. This is a USNA. You're already in a task force though, so we'll keep you separate. Okay. USN N. Task force 2. Number 1. And to Shanghai. So that's 3 down, we only need another 9 now, so that's not too bad. And this is where I was talking about how the other convoys won't take as long to set up, thankfully. And we could go into more depth, but we'll see about that. THG will crash and burn. Well, it's going to be really interesting, actually. We still need to figure out the house rules. But, I mean, the interesting one is going to be whether, well, his position on Kiributai's raids on Pearl Harbor. I think at least 1 or 2. Obviously just 1. Of course 1. But as to whether we can have multiple ones, that'd be rather interesting. Something I'll have to speak to him about. As it might be a way to help balance things out. Another thing would be regarding submarines around Pearl Harbor. But then again, I can't see issues with that one. He will have that means to remove them. At the end of the day, he is holding on to unlimited resources. So it's something that I have to consider. It's like I'm at the disadvantage. I'm at the well, the only time I really have advantage is with the surprise attack. That is the best I'm going to ever get. So what we need to do then is when we do have the actual surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, is we really need to make sure our planes are going to be operating and we know what our targets are. So I don't really think it's worthwhile to run the airfield attack, as the airplanes over there really don't matter too terribly much. I'd rather concentrate on the actual shipping. And, well, then again, Yeah, we'll keep them set to airfield attack, because at the end of the day, I can have, well, I can change the altitude to strafing, but at the end of the day, we will still have zeros on combat air patrol regardless, so that's fine. Okay. So we have you over here. There's a lot of theory where that's going to be done, really, in this. We do have quite some time before we actually begin a actual turn, so this will be worked out as we go, thankfully. Right, you're rather close by, so that's good news. Nagata. I'm actually going to build up the port at Nagoya. Oh, you already built up. I might have been thinking of another port, actually. Okay, we'll figure that out. But what we'll do once we have the convoy set up is, like, all the cargo ships and everything like that within Japan and the surrounding areas will be in Type Center Kyoto, oh well, Osaka, or other locations like Shanghai or Port Arthur. The reason being, we'll get these ships out of the way so that our ports are kept more or less clear in the vast majority of locations. So for one reason we can hold on to them, we're not going to lose them, and it does give us quite a bit of flexibility. For example, I could load a division on from Shanghai and send it somewhere at a moment's notice, or it gives us the opportunity to replace losses. But what we'll do is, like, all the actual cargo ships that will be heading towards Tokyo, they'll carry resources, so that will bring in a nice flow of resources in the early war. As of course, once the it's going to take about 2 weeks really for the convoy system to be set up. So in that time we're not going to be carrying really those resources. And if we take a look at Japan's resources, let's see. Oil and resources. Tokyo. Okay, yeah, so for example, Tokyo has about 10 days worth of supply, 10 days worth of resources at the moment. Osaka has about 14 days of resources at the moment. These cities over here have a surplus, of course, which will be moved, which is good to see. But that gives us an idea of how tight resources are. Of course, we have more resources than that in Honshu, so they will be replenished. But we do need to move more resources in very quickly, as our stockpile will not last. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? I do hope I'm trying to make things somewhat... Well, I do hope things are a little bit easier for newer players to see. The lemurs will be interesting. Yeah, logistics win wars, indeed. Is this Task Force 4 or is it Task Force 5? I think it's 4? I can always change it, no issues anyway. Oh, that's good, not too far away. How was my day? My day's been rather chilled, really. THG is going to be the one who folds the series. What do you mean folds the series? Right, just one. I mean, a good point is, I'd like to keep this up as long as possible. So at the end of the day, even if THG ducks out at some point or something like that, or something comes up, I could always have somebody jump in to take that turn, which is nice. At least we will be able to continue this. Okay, Task Force 5. Let's continue. Hopefully I'm not going to get too tongue-tied today. I tend to get tongue-tied when I've not recorded for any length of time. Oh good, 2 of them over here. That does make things easier. I'm going to have to check these numbers. I forgot. I ended up talking about something and lose count of what I'm actually doing. So let's do a quick rundown then, shall we? Transport. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, that's not bad at all. Just one more then. Fantastic. It's alright, my friend. Parallel. As a little bit distant. Aminato, Kochi. Kochi's closer, so that's good. I'll take that one. It is good to see that we do have multiple ships though. And we do have a lot of use and ends. What is it, like 57? Okay, that takes us to the required number. What do we have here? Oh, a Kyushu. Superb. You're already being sent out to Port Arthur, aren't you, of course? There we go. Right, so that is the Shanghai convoy route setup. So if we go to our cargo planning, so we're going to use 12 use and ends, which will be carrying about 69,000 for 540 tons. I mean, what I could do is I could double that up, so I could have 24 ships in total, which is probably doable. Quite doable, I'd imagine. I could even use some lemurs, to be fair. But what we'll do is we'll get this initiative set up, and then I think we'll see what we have remaining, and then we might set up secondary convoys, which could be rather interesting. Okay. So, the next convoy, we'll just get these things set up and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to go for Kijo to... let's see, do I want to go to Shimonoseki? Port capacity is 9. And port capacity is 10 over here. Okay. So port capacity 4 and port capacity 4. Okay. So what we'll do then is we'll have Kijo and Fusan. They will unload in Shimonoseki. God, I'm pronouncing it more like a Russian city than a Japanese one. But either way, these 2 ports will unload here. That's due to the fact that they won't be able to load as much of Port Arthur, for example. So let's do this then. Which does make things a little bit easier. Am I just blind? I might be just blind here. I'm just seems to be missing it. Ah, there we go, Kijo. I was blind then, it seems. Right, fantastic. So let's figure out our distance then. Okay, Hamburg rule. Direct, okay, fantastic. So at least on direct route, they will take the shortest route possible, which is good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 hexes. So it's actually a little bit of a longer route. So 13 there. Now this one we could afford to have like multiple convoys, but then again it does depend on the resource generation. So if we take a look over here, so wow, that's a lot of resources being produced there. What is the... Yeah, so we could have up to 168,000 tons, it seems. Which is actually rather impressive. So let's see what numbers we'd need to make that up. Okay. What we'll do then is we'll bring up the calculator, can work that out that way. Then again, it's one of those of I could have multiple convoys, but the port here at Kijo can only load about, was that 24,350 tons of resources per day. So I think two... Let's see, so what is the cargo capacity of one? 23,000 tons. How many days does it take them to do that route? Yeah, so this is where we need to come up with the multiple convoys then. So we'll have to check on the Shanghai and Port Arthur routes. As the idea here is that we'll have one task force, well, one convoy in Japan while we'll have another in Kijo, and work it out that way. So that's good to know. So we're looking at just, yeah, we're going to need a second convoy regardless then. Same as with the other ones. Okay, that's fine by me. So I could use 8 Usanens or Limas. Limas are slower. It might be more advantageous to actually just use the Limas due to that lower speed. But the 8 and... So that would take them 3 days to do that route. Which is not good. 7 would do it. So let's see. So perhaps the Limas. And I could use the use and ends, but their fuel consumption is higher. And at the end of the day, this convoy would make it in 2 days, just the same as the use and end convoy would make it in 2 days. So it's one of those of, I am burning, well, more fuel, and I'm not using the speed as I should be. I mean, the Port Arthur convoy and the Shanghai convoy with 9 hexes per day, so it'll take them about 2 days to reach their destinations anyway. So that's good then. So they do need that speed, as obviously they're crossing that distance, so it does make more sense. So I think we'll go with the Lima. Yeah, I think the Lima will be the best class for that. It's good to use different ships with different convoy routes as well, as it means we have more available in the end. Righto. So let's go to ship classes. Let's find the Lima. So 12,000 endurance. I mean, we do have plenty of them available, which is good to know. So we'll have to use them for follow-up. Planting Cameron Bay. So we'll take these ones from Osaka and Kyoto. Yep, Limas. So I'm looking to send about 8 to Kijo. Almost 50% of them already, so that's fantastic. Another 2. Good news. Three more remaining for the Kyushu route. Maybe a few in Tokyo, Yokohama. Okay. Let's go by Tokyo. So we had 3 and then we had 2, so it takes us up to 5, so we just needed 3 more, I do believe. Let's check that these are Limas. Yeah, Lima. Okay, fantastic. So they'll head to Kyushu. So what we'll do once they arrive is we'll split that task force in half. So we'll have 2 convoys from Lima. So one of 4, another of 4. So we'll work it out where one is loaded and the other one's moving, that sort of thing. Which is the way to make things work. I think what we'll probably do then is allow them both to fill up on resources, then send one off. I mean, we need to work it as a continuous supply. I think some of these convoys won't be able to be continuous supplies as such, so we'll have to take manual control of some of those, just to get the efficiency working out to the best, really. But again, we'll see. It's one of those where I might be getting too in-depth, because at the end of the day, if we take a look at Kyushu, for example, it's got 280 resource production centers. Now, resources are times by 20, so 1 equals 20, basically. Well, converts to 20. So I think 280, obviously, times 20, produces about 5,600 a day. Now, let's see, so 5,600, the capacity of the port is... Let's find that out. Okay, so the capacity, well, loading capacity of Kyushu is 24,350. Okay, so it takes us about 4.3 days, roughly, for those resources to be replenished. So it might be that we just stick to the one convoy, as it's going to take a couple of days for those resources to be replenished anyway. We'll see. I think 2 convoys to begin with. Well, we'll see. I don't think we need as many as I thought with the 8, considering the resource generation. But then again, we do have to consider that there's going to be resources coming in from elsewhere, not just Kyushu itself, so this 4.3 isn't actually the correct number. So that's fine, we'll keep it at 8. That works. Okay. Now, Fusan to Shimonoseki. That is a really short route. So then therefore we'll use the slower ships, as anything speedier really does not make sense. Okay, so I think we're going to be looking at about 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's easy enough. Shortest route we'll probably have, or one of the shortest routes we'll have. Okay. Fusan. 3 hexes. Yeah, only a small number. Goes on. Yeah, I think we'll use the Yozans. I was looking at the Akasi, but considering the difference in fuel efficiency and the distance being travelled, doesn't make that much a difference. And a task force comprised of those guys, sure they can handle about 18,750. The Gozans do carry 18,480, but that difference in fuel is actually quite large, so I think we'll just stick to the Gozans. There we go. 9,600. How many of the Gozans do we actually have then? I imagine we'll have quite a few. 58, yeah. That's encouraging. So I believe I'm looking for 9,600 endurance. Yep, here we go. I'll get 2 of them. And we need 8. I believe this one would only need just the 1 convoy. It's going to be one of those where what we'll do is we'll work out the actual it's honestly going to be quite some complicated math, to be fair. Or at least some actual competent math. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to work out how many resources in total, by total tonnage obviously, that our convoys will be carrying. So that's all the convoys added up together, how many they'll be bringing into Japan in total. Say they're all to arrive at the same time. What we'll have to do then is go into the maps a little bit deeper and look at the time it takes. So this is where we'll probably start to double up on our convoys. So for example, Shanghai to Japan, well, to Nagasaki, is about 2 days roughly. So 2 days there, 2 days back, so that's about a 4-day round journey. So at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those of how long does it actually take us to load up those resources. We'd load up the... Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to need about 2 convoys for Port Arthur and Shanghai. Port Arthur is going to be about 2 days, give or take, maybe even 3 days. I think about 2 days. Though it could very well be 3 days. That's very, very close. It's very possible. I think it's about 12 hexes at minimum. Or 14, I can't remember what the number is. It might be 16 at minimum. I think it's 16 hexes at minimum. Which could be accomplished in about 2 days with some fast convoys. Well, convoys. But either way, we're looking at about 4-day round trip there. So day 1, load up. Day 2 at sea. Day 3 at, well, day 3 arrive at port. And then do we have day 3 where they unload? Or is day 4 when they unload? And then day 5 set back, or day 4 set back? Yeah, I suppose it's actually quite a bit more complicated. I suppose, like, well, then again, day 1 doesn't matter. Well, we'll work it out like this. So day 1 is where they load up. So that could take any length of time, really. So the convoy's loaded up. We'll go for the travel from the convoy being loaded. So, from the convoy being loaded. Right, yes. So from the convoy being loaded, it will take them 2 days to travel. So 2 days travel, another 2 days back. I suppose a day to offload. Okay. So about 5 days total? Yeah, we'll call that about 5 days. I don't know, I might confuse myself, but we'll say about 5 days. So 5 days, about a week then, is enough for those resources to probably replenish, give or take. But if we have a second convoy, At least by the time when that one arrives, that one's already departed, and might have arrived. So we'll work things out like that. That'd be good then. Okay. What the heck was I doing again? I think it was onto the Gozans. I can't remember how many Gozans I've actually sent. I think I've only sent 3 so far, was that? Yeah, wow. I got caught up there and be a little bit of a tangent. Yes, there we go. One, 2, 3, fantastic. Just check. Yep, and goes on. Just 2 more now. One, 2. So there, Kelsey, how you doing, my friend? Oops, no, I made that too. Right, so that is the Fusan route created as well. So we have Port Arthur, Hizhou, Fusan, Shanghai set up now. So that's good, man. So what we're left with is Hakodate to Ominato, Sapporo to Hirosaki, Toyohara to... where do we want to send them to? Are you going to build up a big surplus of oil in Japan? Well, see, oil is only used by the refineries. It has no other purpose, really. So we will obviously have to try and build up a big stockpile of oil regardless. But it's a good question. Resources are pretty... well, yeah, pretty much just obviously resources and oil. Those are the base ones. I'm sorry there, Carl. I hope you have a good day, my friend. Okay, so let's work on this side. Hello there, Gary. How you doing, my friend? So let's work this out. So I'm looking at... we'll do Toyohara. So Toyohara loads about 21,650 tons. It's about size 3. So what's the situation at the beginning of the war in the Pacific? Well, it's a good question, actually. It's a good question. Let's take a look then, shall we? So, we do have quite a few things here. Now, the war in China is vastly different to the one I'm used to, considering how far we've actually, well, advanced in China in the main series. So, we will be doing things, and things will definitely go a lot faster in China. Significantly faster. It will be a significantly faster campaign. Namely, as we will be using absolutely everything we can. Absolutely everything. Everything will be commanded to a much higher level. But it is going to be rather an interesting scenario. We are going to have to take a look at how we're going to do this. But really, it all comes down to obviously the main points. Let's just do a quick rundown of war in China then, the strategy at least. Now, I don't know how much the historical gamer is aware of how I operate and how I play. But of course, we will be going to secure this as a main priority. Just going to draw it out so you guys can see how important it actually is. Okay. So you can see here, this is our strategic rail line. And this needs to be secured at absolutely all costs. I mean, in reality, when it comes down to it, Japan can easily control this area. And this area really alone is by far the easiest. The reason being there's a direct route, well, there's a direct link between Korea, Manchuria into China. So this is the area that we can easily rule. The other areas are somewhat more difficult, as of course there's no real strategic rail lines. There's roads, of course. We do have some main roads and we do have some smaller roads, but we don't have like the rail network. We can't cross it in a couple of days or less than that. So when it comes to it, we need to secure the rails. But for follow-up objectives, it will really come down to resource allocation, well, acquisition. So the Changsha area, definitely. So this area is critically important. That's what I need to be going for. Ideally, we take these bases on the interior. Other than that, those are the bases closest to our lines. These are the ones that need to fall. But it will be priority towards Changsha. That's what we need. This base is the one that I do need more than anything, though. This is the absolute #1 priority, and this is where the divisions, where the Kwantung army will be sent. They have to take this base. That is our absolute priority in China, and that is Shengchao. Now, Shengchao is actually quite formidable. Just have some resource production, which is very nice. Light industry over there as well. I mean, the resource production over here is incredible. A lot of resources being produced. And when it comes to it, yeah, there's roughly, there might be somewhat equal resources being produced here than is being produced in Korea. So that's something to bear in mind. But this is the priority. So it's going to be intriguing, as we do have a lot of cleanup to do. There's a lot of Chinese units to eliminate, and that is going to take time. It is going to take considerable and prolonged effort. So yeah, you take a look at that. Those are just Chinese units in this theatre. So not to mention this, or obviously these ones. So the war in China is going to be a bloody affair, but hopefully a short one. It can be one, of course, but it depends really on how much resources we have to, well, spare. If we take a look over here, we can see obviously we have 11,450 salt value in Manchukuo. We need 8,000, well, above 8,000 to not activate the Soviets. So we'll stick to that. We'll stick above 8,000, but we'll really push it as close to the limit as we can do. So if I take a look then, we can try and figure out really how much power we have in certain locations. Let's see. LCUs. People Japanese Army. Active. So let's take a look at the Kwantung Army. Right. Not a huge amount of divisions. We do have plenty of armor, it seems. But we do have the 10th and the 29th division. So you can see that one of them is at Mukden, the other one is over here. So what we need to figure out then is which army is going to be really geared towards this. I suppose it might be the China Expeditionary Army. No. Perhaps Southern Army. Couple of divisions. Okay. So this doesn't include the other armies, it seems. Yeah, there we go. I have a question. I know you can speed up the production of planes and ships, but can you make new squadrons of planes from your excess production? Right, okay. So basically how it'll work is you have squadrons that arrive, for example. I can't create new squadrons as such. I can resize existing squadrons. There are limitations to that, but they can be resized and enlarged in some cases. But as it goes for creating new squadrons, I can only do that when the game permits, when a new squadron arrives. But we do gain quite a few squadrons, so at the end of the day what I could probably do is I could have that squadron basically used in a different sort of plane and have different pilots in there. So in some ways you can create new squadrons, in others you can't. It's one of those of I need the game to give me a new squadron for me to use it and do with it as I wish. So yes and no. Yes and no. Okay, anyway. Let's work on these convoy routes. The faster we get this done, the faster we can move on to greater things. As if there's anything greater than convoys. Okay. I'm looking for Hirosaki, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Hirosaki. Is it Hirosaki? Yeah, Hirosaki, okay. Alright, let's figure out the distance. I don't have a ship. Okay, we'll do it the opposite way around then. Okay, we'll take you. Direct route. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 hexes. Let's bring up the planner. So 15 hexes. Okay, so if you build a new carrier, does it come with squadrons with it, or do you have to move them from somewhere else? The carriers do arrive with squadrons. Right, here we go. So we're looking at 34,600 tons here. I wish these other numbers would update too. Okay. Now this is a fairly lengthy route. So we are going to need some fairly speedy ships. Now the Limas could do this. That would take them about 3 days just for travel alone then roughly. About 2 days. And obviously this does come with caveats as this has the task force, but this will probably be one for 2 task forces really, 2 convoys. I do like the Limas. So if I use 4 Kyushus, I could actually be so very close to the limit there, just 2 under. Kiso E. I would take them a couple days though. Speed is a definite consideration. So we need about... $111. God damn. Hmm. So really only is these ships that we need to be looking at. The Lima's not quite fast enough to do it really. I want to limit the amount of days. I want to, well, have a fast convoy, as you'd call it. So, yeah, only from here. They're non-applicable, as that's an oil and tanker. Well, this one isn't either, and this one. So it's only really these four. Now, we do have quite a few Kyushus out and about. They are damn fast. The Kyushu would actually bring us to 21,640 tons. 48 tons. So we'll see if we can find 4 Kyushus. Or 8 Kyushus, ideally. Though, we are looking for more than, aren't we? So it might be that we use... I think the USN potentially. But we'll see. I think the Lima's just a little bit too slow. And I could use it, don't get me wrong. Okay. I don't think we'll be able to find many Kyushus, but we'll give it a quick go and see how many we can identify. I think the rest of them are kind of out and busy. So use an S. Yeah, there's not a single spare Kyushu. I do have spare USN though, so it will definitely be a USN then. So for the USN, we will have to have a two convoys. I mean, I only need 3 ships per convoy. So only about 6 of them. Have one as Paro already. That's fine, we can sort my destination anyway. As it goes on. USN. I mean, the USNs do have some good endurance as well, so at least they don't have to refuel for some time. So that's an advantage. So in this session we'll have all the convoys more or less set up, which will be really good. Hello there Blinson, how you doing my friend? So yeah, we'll have all the convoys more or less set up in this session, which will be good. I mean that's really just the cargoes. There's going to be a hell of a lot more to do with cargoes, as we'll have to evaluate really where to send them, and then we'll have to really take into consideration conversions, but there's a hell of a lot to do. A hell of a lot. I mean, we're about 3 hours into preparation now. I'm somewhat expecting anything from 6 to 10 hours at the moment. So we'll have to really see. I think 10 hours is probably, like, pushing it out there. I mean, I'm gonna put it like this. It's like, 6 hours would probably be quite rushed, potentially. 8 hours probably sounds okay. 10 hours is probably an ideal, so we'll see. And that's really good to know that you're enjoying the stream. This is like really, I suppose, very, very, very gritty. But I suppose at the end of the day, I might be able to actually have these episodes out as something almost as like a tutorial for War in the Pacific, which is actually really not a bad idea, as I will be going through things in absolutely anal detail. So it's not a bad idea, actually. I might consider that, just like have it listed as its own tutorial playlist, as it's a good opportunity to go through absolutely everything. So we'll be looking at pilot training, we'll be looking at obviously ship production, we'll be looking at resources, we'll be looking at industry, we'll be looking at R&D, we'll be looking at ship deployment, we'll be looking at troop deployment, we'll be looking at every goddamn thing you can conceivably think of. So that's going to be rather exciting. Okay, Koji. Koji. How are you guys doing anyway? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Oh, do we have a second one? Oh, wow. Damn, I wish I had more Q shoes. Oh, you're busy. Damn it. Okay, just the one. And I did start working on an Excel document. Like, I did just start doing this. I mean, this would be the Port Arthur Fukuoka resource convoy. I did start putting this together, but I'm not very good at Excel. I really don't know how you do all, like, the... I don't know what sort of functions I need. So if you guys are good, and I mean, like, if you guys are absolutely fantastic and you really, really want to help me out, what I'd love and absolutely adore you guys for would be if I could have a way to actually get the cargo planning sort of data into like an Excel document that I could update on the fly. So for example, like over here, let's say I reduce this down to 2 USNNs. That obviously changes the total, which would then change the details here, but I'm not that good and I don't know how you do that. So that's something to consider. I mean, if you guys are anywhere near good enough to do something like that, please, please, please do get in contact, because I freaking need that. That would make my life so much easier. It would make the viewing experience a hell of a lot more seamless as well. It might even be something that we could actually give to the wider War Pacific community. So we'll have to see what people can come up with. Please help me. Please. I'm not very good at Excel. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh dear. Well, that's my crying done. It would be really annoying if I lose some of these convoy ships en route, which is going to happen. So we'll have to be prepared for that. Okay, just the one. I mean, and the good point is I'm going to learn which cargo ship I'm dealing with by just simply looking at the endurance. God, I keep doing that. Okay, just another 2 more now. So... yeah, you're busy. Kyushu. And these goes on? Oh no, these are lemurs. I mean, lemurs will be our next runner-up. There we go. Tito Yahara. Oh my. There we go. So that is the Toyohara route setup. Well, planned anyway. So now we need Sapporo. I mean, if we take a look here at the port then. So we've got port capacity 5. A port capacity over here of 5. 3 here. 5 here. Hakadate. Yeah. Okay, I mean, what we're roughly doing here is we're pairing up the ports. So Toyohara is size 3. So that could be handled by Hirosaki. Sapporo is size 5. So, I mean, obviously that can be handled by Hirosaki too. I mean, it'll work out fine. Toyohara and Sapporo can be serviced by Hirosaki. Hirosaki's port will be enlarged over time. A lot of the ports will be enlarged over time to obviously handle the increased amount. What we'll have to do is obviously have engineers sent to these locations as well. So Toyohara, Sapporo, so like that. Hakadate, Aminato. Well, I forget the name of this port, to Owaki. So that's how we'll have it work out then. Oops. There we go. Hopefully that makes it easier for people to see. So these are the cargo routes. So when you look at things like that, it does make it a lot easier. What you kind of have to do is like pair the ports up. There we go. Just had a bit more coffee. Keep me going. Keep the old brain working. As God, I make myself look a lot smarter than I really am. Especially when it comes to Excel. I don't know a fucking thing about Excel. I know how to get the addition function to work, but that's about bloody it. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah, I might want some ASW flights from those bases. I mean, this is going to be the thing. It's like, we're working on the convoy routes at the moment. The convoy routes aren't too far away from being finished. We'll finish off these ones in the north. We'll double these ones up in the north. It's one of those with like the distance and time. It might even be worthwhile for us to double up all these convoys so we have one going, one coming, one going, one coming. But it gets a little bit more complicated when it comes to like Port Arthur and Shanghai in terms of numbers. So far we doubled up Kijou. Fusan, I think I doubled, probably. So Kijou, Fusan doubled. Toyohara doubled. So Sapporo. Yeah, so we'll double all these, and then what we have left we can throw into like a Port Arthur and Shanghai round. And the good news is, I mean, it's going to be one of those of like, it's going to take them quite a bit to load up. It's about a day to load here. There's a hell of a lot of resources being produced here. Well, not in Port Arthur directly, but flowing to Port Arthur. Okay, moving on. So, Sapporo. Sapporo. There we go. So let's figure out the distance. I'm going to have a bunch of ships just randomly going to ports as well, by the way. As obviously I'm forgetting to cancel these convoys once I work out the distance. But oh well, it doesn't matter. Okay. So from Sapporo to Hirosaki, direct route is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexes. Okay. 7 hexes. Ha ha ha. I feel like the goddamn bloody vampire from Sesame Street at this moment. 5 ships. Ha ha ha. Okay. Right, so we're looking at about 7 hexes. So, ships increasing. Obviously, because this is a size 5 port. So 5-5 increases the numbers needed. Right, so if I was to... Oh, God damn it. Right, okay, so 7 hexes. That does make things significantly easier, as it means for the 2-day sort of golden rule, if we can manage it, the speed doesn't have to be as great. So obviously we'll look at this then, so as long as they can make at least 5 knots, well 5 hexes. So literally every ship here could manage that in 2 days. Every ship. which is really good encouraging. Now speed and now, well, really it comes down to fuel efficiency in a way. Indeed it does. Even the Tosu could do this. I mean, I have to have about 203 of them, but fuck me, they could do it. Okay, so now in like more sensible suggestions, let's see. I mean, it's not even a bad idea to have faster ships. Because at the end of the day, this is a mainline convoy route. It's going to be under threat. But it just comes down to really, like, fuel efficiency. Well, efficiency versus, like, inefficiency, I suppose. But let's see, man. So, 10 ships. So 2 task forces of 5. So the Limas are quite effective. The USNS is obviously the most effective, but I don't have the USNSs for that. So if we take a look then, the Lima class seems to be the best for this. I mean, 5.2 fuel efficiency is really good. It's like, I could use the Kyushu, but I don't have the Kyushus available. I could use the, well actually, yeah. In all honesty. 5.2 isn't bad. If I was to use the Toho, I'd need 18. If I was to use the Eden class, I'd need 14. So that would be 2 convoys of 7. Which is actually... And I could have 32,000. Right, let's see. Let's see. So, it comes down to, if I was to use the Akasi, for example, I'd have to have 2 task forces, well, 2 convoys of 9, which would bring it to about 18. But I would be transporting 33,750 resources every time. The fuel consumption, though, would have been worthwhile for that many ships, I don't believe. And if I take... can I even figure that out? I feel like I'm seeing things that I might be misinterpreting data. Which I probably am, so you guys need to be willing to put up with that. If you can see me really glaringly misreading data, then do let me know. I'll get better at this sort of stuff, I'm sure you guys will as well. But I do feel like we should probably go for the lesser number of ships in a convoy. The reason being, it's one of those, isn't it? It's like, the more ships in the convoy, the more flexibility you have really, as losing one isn't that much of a hit. I mean, we take a look at it this way. What I'm trying to say here is if I bring up the bloody calculator... Where the hell is my calculator? I dropped my calculator. I mean, not like I actually have a physical calculator, so I'm not that smart. I've got an old as hell one somewhere, maybe. Kind of feel like I should invest in one now. Light. Right, let's see. So... 33,750 tons of resources divided by 9. So each ship, well, I could just look at that, couldn't I? But obviously each ship is carrying 3,750 tons of resources. So if one ship is sunk, then we're not losing as much. Alright, I'm trying to figure out how you do the percentage again, I can't remember. I forget how you do percentages. Can I do it like this? I'm not used to it. Let's figure out what this is. 20% of 3,750? Yeah, fuck knows. I don't know how you do that. But yeah, you can try and get at what I'm seeing here. But let's see. So I'm looking for fuel efficiency, as well as numbers. So I think the best we'll get is the Lima. I think I'm talking out my arse at this point now. So the Lima, 12,000. Okay. Right, let's look for the Limas. Was it 40 knots for the Limas? Is it 12,000 endurance? 12,000, yeah, there we go. They're quite far away. How many do I need then? So I need 10, don't I? So we'll take these from Ominato. The whales and Maru. Ideally bring them from as close by as possible. North at Maru. Okay, we do have some closer by, which is good. I should be able to make up the numbers from Japan. Ah, there we go, we've got 2 of them. Fantastic. Oh, there we go. So we're up to 5 now, so we just need 3 more. No. We need another 5. Yeah, we need another 5. Oh, good. That makes things a lot easier. Just 2 more after this. Oh, do I already have one there? Fantastic. That's actually really good. Okay. So start you loading resources then. Fantastic. Okay. At least that one's there already, so just one more after that. But they'll start loading. Fantastic. Fantastic news, really. Let's go a bit closer. No, Nagoya. There we go, that's the Sapporo to Hirosaki route. Okay, superb. So Hakadati to Ominato. Ah, technically 3 hexes. Yeah, technically 3 hexes. There you go, Hakadati. Apologies while I'm quiet, I'm just trying to find Ominato in here, and I'm blind as hell. There we go, Ominato. Bloody at the top. God damn it. Okay, anyway, so 3 hexes. Okay. Now, speed really doesn't matter. What we're going to be looking at here is now fuel efficiency. Just 1 second. Okay. So the snake. I'm doing pretty good, actually. Doing pretty good. We're about 3.5 hours into really the pre-setup. So, things are going well. We're just getting round to finishing the convoy routes. At least to begin with. I'm going to have to go and take a look at Shanghai and Port Arthur. And I probably will set up a convoy route from Pescadores to a port in Japan that I need to figure out, actually. So that's going to be another convoy route to work out, which is going to be a little bit more interesting, but that's going to be fun. I can't wait to fucking do it. I love convoys, man. Okay. So look at this. This is obviously unreasonable. But if we take a look at the Daigen, Castle D's could do this. But I would need a hell of a lot of them. And let's take a look at conversions. Assuming you can convert it. Ah, there we go, Castle D. Yeah, the submarines will have a field day. Okay, it seems there's actually not a conversion for the Castle D. Okay, might as well use them on this then. So if I have 2 of them, that's 38, so 19 per task force, which is quite a lot actually. Fuel efficiency is 2.29, which is actually the best we get. I mean, it's the same as the Daigen, but the Daigen we'd have to have 42 ships per task force, well, per convoy. Well, for the actual entire thing. The Castle D's is the closest and the most efficient and we'll actually get. We do have 46 of them, so that would actually see the vast majority of them used in this convoy. Now, can we actually gain those numbers? That is another question. I mean, I could potentially use the lemurs, but... I mean, is that going to be rather inefficient? Yeah, that would be inefficient. In terms of, like, fuel usage. Do you think you have a chance of victory against an allied player? Well, all of that is going to come down to if we can actually sink an American aircraft carrier. If I can sink a Lexington-class carrier in the first few days of the war, then at least I have a chance. I have a small chance. And it is really going to come down to, like, mind games. We have a lot of mind games to come up with. Like, we are going to have to really brainstorm. And things are going to get kind of crazy. It's going to end up being like one of those sessions where we go down the goddamn rabbit hole and we do not come back up. We do not leave the rabbit hole. We make the rabbit hole our goddamn home and we kick the fucking rabbits out. So that's the level of depth I'm going to go into with this. It's going to be crazy. But you know what? I think we'd like crazy. But let's answer your question. Do we have a chance? Yes, there's always a chance of victory. Always a chance of victory. However small and remote. I mean, to be honest, the greatest chance for us to achieve anything close to victory is going to come in this small area here. I don't know where the American carriers are, but I believe there's an American carrier near Hawaii to begin with. And to be fair, I'm going to have to do a little bit of historical research to figure out really in this region. What if he spies your channel? I don't think THG will. As to if people will like look at the video and pass on information, well, end of the day, I can't help that. That's to be expected. But you know what? That's fine. I'm not just like going to stick to one strategy. We will obviously adapt and overcome as we go. And at the end of the day, it's one of those where if it happens, it happens. I'm sure we'll figure things out as we go. You'll kick his ass. I wish. THG is going to have some really good advisors behind him, so that's going to be pretty cool. Like, he's going to have Beluga and a couple of us, even Neuhauser, alas. But yeah. This is where victory will come from in this area. If, well, a good boost for Japanese war efforts will come in this area. I think the carriers are around this area here, I'm not entirely certain. We'll have to do some research. I'm not going to load in as the allies figure out exactly where they are, because I would consider that cheating. But I know they're in this area roughly. I don't know from what date, but they are roughly here. So, Kitabutai will take a couple of days to obviously arrive here. So we'll have to figure that one out. Yeah, intelligence network. One cannon goes to Midway, another to Wake. Ah. So there's 2 cannons in this area then. Interesting. How supplied those subs? These subs out here? Let's take a quick look. Their endurance as well. They're fully armed. Yeah, so they're 100% ready to go, to be fair. So we do have a good length of time with these submarines. I think what it might be a case of is we use these submarines in this area. We might look... I mean, we do have a couple of submarines over here, like these Arrow... So Arrow 66, Arrow 65, Arrow 62, Arrow 61, and Arrow 60. So, in fairness, I could have them actually head in... Well, yeah, we do have these guys around Wake. So we could cover Wake. Midway would be another question. We don't have a submarine nearby to cover that as such. But what we do have to worry about then is really how it's going to work. Well, let's take this into consideration then. So let's yeah, Yorktown or Lexington and Enterprise are within the area of Pearl. I believe it's Lexington within that area. But yeah, if we take a look at this then. So he's got really two real, I suppose. Yeah, well, let's figure it out then. Okay. So this is brainstorming now. This is brainstorming inside the mind of THG. So he has one option where he could F off to America, which in reality is potentially his safest plan. I don't know what the endurance will be of the Lexingtons. I'd imagine they'd be able to carry that route off without much of a hitch. The issue is, though, he's going to have to pass through a lot of submarines in that area. And the thing is, it's like, sure, the Lexington will be able to outrun me. Well, will outrun me if it gets going. But we might be able to intercept it as we spread our submarines out in the area, as we will create a absolutely magnificent interlocking patrol pattern. And at the end of the day, we will have our submarines equipped with planes out here as well. So all I really need is just to gain sight of a Lexington. If I know where a Lexington is, then I can always have Kidabutai head to that port, head for port attack, and we'll annihilate it in port. At the end of the day, if I land one torpedo into the side of a carrier, that carrier is going to be potentially out for at least a month. At least. So if we sink it, that's even better. So this is it. I don't even necessarily have to destroy these carriers, I just have to damage them. If I damage them to such a degree where their speed is unmanageable. So let's say, for example, that the Lexington's carriers are damaged in a major way, thus reducing her speed down to about 15 knots or so. If she moves any faster, she runs the risk of taking on water, she runs the risk of further damage and even potentially being sunk due to the damage there. So at the end of the day, if she's down to about 15 knots, that makes her unable to really be of use. She'd have to be escorted massively. And the thing is, with how it works with task force is the task force moves at the speed of the slowest member. So you imagine these ships are normally doing about 30 odd knots are now doing 15. So now this task force that normally is moving, let's say for example 10 hexes per turn, is now moving only 5 hexes per turn. That means I can actually get there. I can outmaneuver them, as I then have the speed advantage. And the beauty is, my submarines can keep up, and they really can keep up with that sort of speed. So, in reality, our win condition regarding the American carriers around Pearl is, of course it would be lovely to sink them, but the win conditions are sink or damage to such a degree that their engines are, well, that the ship is forced to reduce her speed. If I can force her to reduce her speed, she's as good as dead. If she's down to 15 knots, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter where she goes. I will be able to find her, and I will be able to track her down. Well, I will be able to destroy her. It's a simple question. So, when it comes to THG's carriers and their survival chances, I mean, they are rather good. They do have a good opportunity to disperse and me not find them. I think I have about 50-50 chance of really detecting an American carrier. And then as to whether we can actually sink her, that's another question. So, we'll take a look at the potential options then of THG and his carriers. Now, I believe they can head down to Australia. I believe there's a port that could handle them. Another route, a very, very dangerous and ambitious route, in some ways, though not in other ways, would be to head to Singapore. So, in reality, if we take a look at this then, so THG really only has about 3 options with his carriers. 3 options, really. I mean, there's a lot to consider. So what we'll talk about then is the pink plan. I'm going to go by pink, yellow, and red plan. So the pink plan is the shortest one. They would see the Lexingtons return to the US, where they would obviously have safe harbours. There's plenty of repair shipyards, there's plenty of ports that could handle her. There's obviously going to be plenty of support, aerial support of that nature. The issue with that plan is she is going to be running through Japanese submarines. Kidabutai will potentially be in the area within a short amount of, well, short space of time. So when it comes down to it, he could run with the Lexingtons to America. He could do that. We do have a chance to intercept him on his way, so that's always a good point. We do have well, we do have a submarine out that way. So what we could do then is we could actually cover the most direct sea route towards either San Diego, San Francisco, which is where I would imagine he would go. I'd imagine he'd take her that way. I doubt he'd take her towards the north, to like, oh my god, what do you call that city now? Seattle or Canada. I doubt he'd take her that way. So I'd favour San Diego, San Francisco, there's another port I'm forgetting the name of. Los Angeles? Yeah, Los Angeles maybe. So those are the options he would probably go with that way. The carriers after the bombing of Pearl Harbor were southwest of Honolulu, and that's really good to know. I suppose it depends on the day. I don't know where they would be on the 7th of December. So I'm going to have to do a bit of historical research, trying to figure out where that's going to come. In fairness, it's like I do have a book on War Plan Orange, which is really how the US Navy operated to a degree when it comes down to it. War Plan Orange was basically the naval victory against Japan. When the game starts, does it initialize units in places where they were historically at that time? Yeah, everything's here roughly as it was. Give or take. Obviously, it's a hex-based map, so they've done the best, I suppose. Now, talking about the yellow plan. Now, the yellow plan is rather interesting. Now, I would probably say it is the safest of the different plans, as it really doesn't give me a huge amount of time to respond. I'd only really have maybe 2 to 3 days maximum in order to detect the American carriers. That's all I'd have. 2 days is... well, 3 days is very generous. 2 days is pushing it. In reality, we'd only have a single day in all these plans to really try and detect them. 2 days max, really. 3 days absolute max. So the yellow plan would see her running through the Pacific Islands, past Palmyra, past like Tahiti and islands like that, towards Sydney or Melbourne. And now, this plan obviously has a risk of me detecting them via submarine. But in all honesty, if I was playing as THG, this would be my plan, to head to Australia. I mean, is it quite considerable distance? So it really does depend on their fuel reserves. It depends on their endurance. I don't know what his carrier's endurance would be like to begin with, so that's the question. Now, the red plan is one of those where, if he was to head towards Singapore, I don't think he would head towards Singapore, of course. I don't think he would go that way. But if it's to head in that direction, he would pass through the Marshall Islands, roughly. Unless it goes around, but that's going to take a considerable amount of time, and that's going to mean less fuel, which is going to increase his, well, reduce his endurance at sea, which is going to mean he's going to have to go to port somewhere. Unless he has replenishment. So prior to Pearl Harbor, you technically know where the 3 US carriers would be coming from. Yes, roughly. We know they're in the vicinity of the Hawaiian Islands, roughly. I don't know whereabouts in the game, and I don't want to look, because I don't want to ruin it. But yes, the red plan would actually be rather dangerous towards me, as at the end of the day, if he was to head out that way with a Lexington-class carrier, I don't really have anything in the area that can stop that. I do have seaplanes in the area. Well, I do have planes in the area that could potentially reach out and destroy him. But it would see a lot of damage done to the Japanese Empire's efforts in that area. So, how do I rate these possible plans? In reality, I don't think there's another option. And I will continue to brainstorm this, I will continue to think on this and strategize. But I really put it down to about 3 plans. So we'll call this, well, option pink, option yellow, and option red. In terms of likeliness, I would say option yellow, then option pink, and then option red. So yellow is the one I'm going to be assuming to happen. It's the one where there's the least amount of risk, obviously beyond that of the first day. And it's going to be one of those where I really can't reach him. It's like I can reach him at the American coastline. I mean, I can reach him on the Australian coastline as well. But it's harder for me to get to Australia than it is to get to the US. Of course, the distance to the US is greater, but there's nothing really in the way. Whereas out in Australia, at this point in time, I won't have any bases there. He will have plenty of bases, he will have plenty of support in that area, near and about. He'll have plenty of places to hide, or at least move units to fight against me. So I'm going to go with option yellow. And hello there, Lorenzo. How you doing, my friends? Okay, so we got off into quite a tangent there regarding the American carriers and my thinking. Okay. We're on to the Hakatati to Ominato convoy now. So let's get on with that. I'm ideally trying to get all these convoys sorted before I end this particular episode, well, session. But it might even be done in a third session. I do estimate that we'll probably spend about at least 6 hours, possibly up to 8 hours, ideally maybe even 10 hours. On the morning of December 7th, Lexington was around Midway. Really? Enterprise was en route to Pearl Harbor and was supposed to arrive on December 6th, but was delayed by weather and arrived on December 7th. So it seems like Enterprise would be the most likely target. Lexington's around Midway, so that's interesting. So if Lexington's around Midway, let's strategize then again. So if Lexington's around Midway, I do have 5 submarines over this way, which is rather interesting. These 5 submarines are really going to be the make or break in this circumstance. If he was to head towards Australia, he would have to head like this. So he'd have to try and make his way through here, which means he's going to run close to the Marshall Islands if he tries to run this way. He's going to have to come this way. That's the thing, he's going to have to come this way. He could go this way towards the Philippines, but that's another option that I could consider, but I don't think it's very likely. It could very well happen. It could very, very well happen. But I don't think it would. I think it's one of those where, what does he really gain? And I don't think there's a port. I don't think, I don't know. I think only Manila could potentially handle the Lexington class. So, if I was to hazard a guess, I think what we'd have to do really is try and cover this area. I do have planes here. So if anything, I would like him to come near the Marshall Islands, because at least then I'd have some ability. I do have a further 4 submarines down in this area, which is actually really quite nice. We do have other naval assets, we do have other air assets. So if he heads in this direction, I can make things difficult. I could potentially sink him. So it's going to be one of those. But that's really good information to know. Okay, so back onto the game, back onto the convoy system. It's so very easy to get hooked onto these other questions yet to come. But we'll get the convoy set up, and then once we have the logistics more or less underway, that does make everything significantly easier. As we can then start talking about tactics, stratagems, and that sort of malarkey. Oh, wow, went off a tangent there, didn't I? Okay. So I'm looking for the Kasudi. Montgomery. I love the fact that I can get this detailed about a game. I love that. Kasuigi, AG. Okay, We'll find one of them in port anyway. I'm sure we will. Let's just look on the planner. They don't have much cargo capacity. Okay. Yahtzee. Kiso E. Here we go. What would happen if you attacked your carriers when you bomb Pearl Harbor? Well, the question is, what damage could he do with 2 carriers, or 3 carriers? He might have maybe maximum 3 carriers in the area. We'd have, what, 6 or 8 carriers? Over 300 aircraft? So, at the end of the day, he'd lose that, and he knows that. He can't challenge Kidobutai in the field. He simply can't. He can't go for a direct confrontation, not yet. He would have to build up his power. He would have to see me divide Kidobutai. So it's going to be one of those things really throughout the series of, I'm going to be very reluctant in certain ways to divide Kidobutai. I'm going to be very reluctant to see my carriers spread out, really. So we'll have to be quite careful about that. Really be very mindful of where our carriers are, what they're doing. Okay. What can I... So I need 38 in total. That's a lot of bloody ship. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I think you could get away with 2 times 3 CVs. I mean, that's the point. We do have, what, how many fleet carriers or full carriers do we have? That's equivalent to all of his carriers in 1 fleet, times 2, pretty much. Yeah. So I think we'd have... I think we have about 6 fleet carriers, so 6 full carriers. And then we have a couple escort carriers, we have a couple light carriers, but of course he will as well. So it's one of those things of, we do need to consider them. But ideally what we'll do then is really work it out where potentially 2 carriers with 3 full fleet aircraft carriers, and then we'll support them with a light or even an escort, or even 2 escorts and 2 lights, or something like that. Just try and really bump up those numbers. Yes, indeed. Okay. And it's something to even be said of potentially detaching groups of about 2 to 3 destroyers to hunt down the American carriers. So at the end of the day, it's one of those of, if they don't have surface ships nearby, they could very much come off in a bad situation. If our destroyers were able to get through and get a torpedo off, they would actually have a devastating impact. Of course, though, they would run the risk of being attacked from the air, which would probably kill them. And if they have anything like a light cruiser, heavy cruiser, battleship even, they would more than likely be blown out of the water. But that's a consideration. It really does depend on what they'd have with them, and the numbers of destroyers we could throw. But that'd be very wasteful. Right, so that's the first one to head to Hakadati. Plus the jet pilots are combat veterans, the Yanks are pretty green. Yeah, that's true. But obviously not as experienced in direct combat. Do you think you'll eventually have an escort carrier with only fighters for each gun fleet? Yeah, that'd be a really good idea. So in today, that is a valuable weapon. You know what, Blinson, you really do need to be my advisor. So, I mean, feel free in the Discord just to, like, send me messages, send me ideas, and we'll work together like that. They both have escorts of heavy cruisers, yeah, so a destroyer raid would not be feasible. Okay, here we go. Have a couple. Wait a minute, are these casualties? Yeah. That's quite far. Head cockney. I mean, everybody's welcome to give support. I think the more ideas I have, the better. I mean, like, the more ideas that people tell me about, the better, really. Because at the end of the day, that's something to consider then. A lot of my advice stems from old Super Nintendo versions of this game called Pacific Theater of Operations. Interesting. I think Blinton's already on the Discord, to be fair. Nice calculator, man. I've just seen that in the Discord. That's pretty awesome. Okay, just 1 second. There we go. So that is the Discord link to my channel anyway. Well, to my Discord. There we go, we'll go couple. Was I up to task force 4 now? I think I was. Not that it really particularly matters, as I can figure out the information elsewhere. If I were him, I would retreat to the carriers towards San Francisco, so the only feasible strategy in that situation would be to move your carriers on an intercept course. Well, see, you would think that, wouldn't you? You'd think, oh, well, I'm going to have to hunt them down. In reality, no. In reality, I could really achieve so very much more by just having the submarines just off the coastline. They don't even have to be within range of these actual airplanes. It doesn't even have to know where they are. But as long as I have, like, a submarine screen out that way, it really would keep him in port. So that's the thing. It's quite ironic, the calculator I used when I was still in high school. Yeah, that's really cool, my friend. I need to improve my mouse, but it's one of those things, really, of how much you use it. But well done, my friend. It's really good to hear about that. I hope you're doing awesome. Am I missing something here? I'm not seeing the Kasudi. There we go. Yeah, well that's it, isn't it? It's even the threat of a sucker punch that'll freeze an opponent. Well, the thing is, if I just have my submarines just off the coast, I can build up a good amount of them. It's like I've quite a few submarines with a really ridiculous range. So, like, in the early days of the war, it's one of those things. It's like, sure, he might be able to head towards San Francisco, San Diego, or even Los Angeles. I won't have that many submarines to chase him. I have a good couple, which I will send out that way ASAP. So the thing is, it's like, sure, he could get all 3 carriers that way, but the thing is, he's back in America. The war is on the other side of the planet. The war is in Asia, not America. So, by having his carriers there, sure, they're safe, but they're also useless. And in reality, a useless ship is a ship that's not counted. It doesn't matter how many aircraft it has. It doesn't matter its speed. It doesn't matter its armament. If it's not in the fight, if it's not being used, it's as good as dead. And in reality, the longer we keep the American carriers away, and the British carriers, the Commonwealth carriers away, the better. So that means I can operate with very little, well, with impunity almost. I think Lord Luba said something about making you a spreadsheet. Oh god, I'd like freaking love him if he does something like that. So I need a spreadsheet. We're gonna get real dirty. I think this is probably gonna be the series that does in fact kill me. But the good thing is, once we get all the basics set up, well, I call it basics. Once we get all the nitty-gritty set up, then things become considerably easier in reality. As we'll not have to spend as much time, really, in that fashion. Yeah, I would wait until I build my numbers and then attack with overwhelming. Well, this is it. It's like at the end of the day, how to put it? Okay, so let's say... Okay, let's say, for example, we have a aluminium target. Now, aluminium is a metal that can be... It's quite soft, isn't it? It's like it can be easily pierced by certain things. So let's say, for example, we have this aluminium target. Now, let's say that we have like a Challenger 2's main cannon. The Challenger 2 main cannon would absolutely obliterate that. But that would be overkill. So, you could even use a knife to pierce it. You could use a knife. So let's say, for example, that the Challenger 2 are the carriers, which would be Kiributai, and the knife would be the submarines. So it's one of those of using an appropriate amount of force. Wasn't the decisive battle plan what Japan was going for all along? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they did try to actually have that decisive battle at Pearl Harbor, but they were unlucky in the fact that the carriers were away, really. So it really does come down to the coordination between the different submarines in that area as to whether we can actually catch a American carrier. I'm getting really tongue-tied now. This is what happens when I'm thinking too much and speaking too much. Oh dear. And this is going to use a lot of cargo ships, so that'll remove a lot that we have to send to Tokyo. I think it was up to Task Force A, I can't remember actually at this moment. Just the one. That's disappointing. Hello there, Tortuga. Bloody hell, it's fine to see you here, isn't it? Okay. So, this is where we have to force Tortuga to choose a side. And I know which side he's going to choose. He's going to choose the side he's most afraid of, which is obviously going to be me. I mean, the historical game is closer, but you know what? I have the determination to come there and find him. Teach me the way, senpai! Ah, man. I'm not gonna lie about Tortuga. Like, I'm going to be spending probably in around... probably around the region of 6 to 8 hours, maybe even 10 hours doing this whole thing. So there's a lot to be done, but I will be doing everything. So if you have the endurance to watch the entire, well, pre-turn streams, then you're gonna learn a lot. Or at least learn enough to play, at the very least. Okay, Kijou would be nice. Yeah. That's a good point, actually. I'm still trying to learn get a Grigsby's bomb in the Reich, actually. That makes me feel so warm inside. Okay, we have another Castle D over here. So we're looking for about 38 Castle Ds over here at Hakadati to the Ominato round. And the fuel efficiency is pretty good, so 2.29 fuel efficiency per hex. And it's 3 hexes, so that's pretty decent. We're going to use about 13 units of fuel a day. But the thing is, we'll be able to load about 32,775 tons of resources. The port, well, Hakadati can actually load plenty more, but the port at Ominato can't handle that much more than that. So that works out fine. Hello there, Tommy, how you doing, my friend? Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I've had to learn a lot about merchant ships myself, so I'm really glad that we're doing something like this. I'll carry on the main series, but at the end of the day, we can put the lessons learned into this play-by-email series, which is going to be really good. I hope it does make for really good entertainment values. Which it probably should. I'm even considering really trying to make this pre-turn series of streams like something like a tutorial almost. A very long and boring tutorial. Oh dear. I mean, we do need to take a look at our actual repair shipyards. I mean, it's like, for example, well, something that we can do pretty quickly now, actually, is we need to set every industrial center in Japan at about 5k supplies needed to make sure things work. So what we'll do then is, let's see, I'll turn manpower off. We'll turn, well, yeah, oil should stay on. Okay, we'll keep it like that. So what are we looking at here? So basically what we're looking at is we're setting up our convoys routes. Well, convoy routes. Let's see. So, let's go over here then. So at the moment, we have our Toyohara convoy route set up, we have our Shimonoseki, we have the Shanghai route set up, Sapporo, Port Arthur, among others, Hakadati, Hiroshima. Okay, well these are the other locations. But basically what we're doing here is I'm going to grab my drawing tool. Is we have a convoy route that will run from Port Arthur to Fukuoka. We'll have a route running from Shanghai to Nagasaki. We'll have a route from Fusan to Shimonoseki. We'll have a route from Kijou to Shimonoseki. We'll have Toyohara to Hakadati. No, this isn't Hirosaki. Sapporo to Hirosaki, Hakadati to Ominato. I forget the name of the port here, but to Iwaki. Iwaki. So what we're doing here is we're setting up our convoys. We've done this one, we've done this one, we've done this one, we've done this one. This one's done, this one's done. We're just working on this one at the moment, and then we'll have that one to do. Oh god, I absolutely love this sort of industrial shit. I absolutely live for this crap. I really do enjoy it. I mean, what we've got to take into consideration is the actual aircraft production. So it's like, well, yeah, air production, airframes. For example, we are going to have to eliminate a few engines. So, I do have some resources I do have available. Like, for example, this is something I've been looking at just to sort of gain an insight into what this author would think. Let's see, where's the R&D section? I forget what it is on this one, but let's bring up the other resource that I could use that I could show off quite well. Okay, so if we take a look at the wire flow chart over here. So this is the R&D that we'll have to take a look at. So for example, if we take a look for, right, so this is the IGN fighters. So we start obviously out with the A6M2. So the A6M2 could move down to the A6M2 Senbaku, which would lead us on to the A6M5 5B. Obviously this would be 44, so some way away, and that would be a fighter bomber. So really what we're going to have to do in the line of the Imperial Japanese naval fighters, bear in mind the orange boxes represent fighters that are carrier capable. So we'll continue to produce the A5M4 for as long as possible, because I will stop producing these engines immediately, pretty much. So we'd go with the A6M3, but I'd like to go to the, obviously, the A6M3A, as that's carrier capable, and then the A6M5. So the IGN fighters are really quite easy, but we have all sorts here. So what we're going to have to take a look at then really is comparison. Like for example, we have the Ki-44-2A Tojo, which has an armor value of 0, service rating of 1, gun value of 10. It's really, well, the real competitor would be the Ki-43-2A. 942 to 1142. Okay, yeah, so the Ki-43-2A. So it uses a Nakajima HA35, same, well, actually no, different to the Tojo. So the Nakajima 34. The armor value is 0, the service rating is 1, but the gun value is 6. So it's nowhere near as good as the Tojo. But then we have range to consider, which is obviously less, maneuverability to consider, which is obviously greater for the Ki-43. There's a lot to consider here. So this will all come in the future when we're going to R&D and obviously engine manufacturing. But as far as it goes for engine manufacturing, we do obviously need to produce far more Nakajima HA35s. As plenty of our aircraft in the future will be using them. So let's see, Nakajima 35. Yeah, so you can see here the A6M2, which is obviously what we're using right now. So we have about, what was that, 26 or 260? Yeah, so we only have 26 engines in the pool at the moment. We're using 56 and we're building 56 in the moment. So the Nakajima HA35 engine production does need to be ramped up considerably. Absolutely massively. As we need to try and aim for around about a pool of 500 Nakajima HA35s at all times. If we have more than that, it does help our R&D. As for example, our R&D plants would gain a bonus then, as they could use these extra engines to actually speed up R&D. So that would allow us to then try and gain like X6M5s earlier. Okay, but that's to come in the future. I'm getting very tongue-tied now as I'm getting quite excited. Okay. Right, it's not going to be too long until we're done with this. Saigon-sama. Where's Hama? It's quite far at Hainan, isn't it? So we'll go for Yokohama/Yokosuka. Right, it's all about cargo capacity. Yeah, you actually control the number of engines. Like for example, how it works is if we go to the industry over here. So we'll go to the one in the Pacific chart over here. So it takes 18 heavy industry to produce an engine. Well, an airframe. So 18 heavy industry. So let me bring up my calculator. So 2 seconds. Okay. So we have 18 heavy industrial points. So see, I have 2,614 here in my pool. Well, that's the surplus. So 18 heavy industrial points to produce a A6M2 airframe. Now the A6M2 only has one engine, so that's an additional 18 points, so it costs us 18 heavy industrial points to produce 10. So to produce 10 would cost about 36. Now to produce a 4-engine bomber, we'd need 18 heavy industry for the actual airframe, plus 18 times 4, I believe, which would give us a number of about 144. So really, Japan doesn't have the luxury of producing heavy bombers. We could produce 4-engine bombers, but they're very expensive. So that's something to take into consideration. It's like we can have an impact on the naval yards and the shipyards, merchant yards. So if I go into ship production, we'll take a look obviously at our carriers. Let's see, naval. We can see here that we will start the game with the Shinano in production. So what I can do then is, as a Shinano is going to cost us 157 heavy industrial points. If we go back to the industry, you can see here, naval yard. So the naval yard is using 4,152 heavy industrial points. From our heavy industry of 6,950, we produce 13,900 heavy industrial points. So this is our heavy industrial points pool. So you can see we're using 11,286, 390 airframes, 252 to engines, 432 to vehicles, 3,720 armaments, 4,152 to naval yard, 2,421 to merchant yard. So if I could knock off 150-ish, that's definitely going to help. That'd be 150-ish back in this pool, which could mean we produce a heavy engine fighter each day for the time it costs to produce the Shinano. Yeah, that would be rather incredible, wouldn't it? Can you imagine doing this as the German Reich? Oh my god, I've fallen in love. But this is close enough. Okay. The type of game is unofficially called Grognak. I think the details are counting rivets on a single boat in a single port. Do you have the allies' numbers so we could compare them? I actually don't. Unfortunately. I'll have to take a look at that in future. But I'm getting really off topic and I forgot what I was doing. That's kind of how, like, production works. So yes, anyway, 1,725, so that's a Castle D. Ooh, we have a second. Ooh, we have a third. Well, that makes my day a little bit easier. I think I was up to 12 now. I'm not entirely sure. So Castle D, Task Force 12, maybe. 3 ships in this. So we'll have them sent to Hakodate. Yeah, the US doesn't have the in-game production. It would be very difficult for the Allies considering the unlimited resources that you do have. Difficult in some ways, and not difficult in others. Okay. I mean, what we're going to do when we come to ship production is, let's see. So, for example, we do have the Junyo class. Now, they will arrive, historically, the 3rd of May and the 31st of July. What I could do is I could spend extra points, really, from the halt of the Shinano to accelerate the construction of the Junyo. But you know what? I'm actually kind of considering, and I don't know if you guys are really into this, but what I'm considering here is rather than cancel the production of the Shinano, we actually cancel some armament production, or at least trim down the armament production, possibly even vehicle production. Well, not vehicle production, but armament production potentially. Merchant production we could really cut down on quite heavily. So what I'm considering here is, at the end of the day, I'm going to need every carrier I can possibly get. So I'm actually considering leaving the Shinano in production, mostly because you don't ever see the Shinano. Now the Shinano would not arrive for years, absolutely years. And if we take a look here, she wouldn't arrive until November, well, 19th of November 1944. So it could be one of those where if we were to consider having her accelerated, to be fair, could be rather interesting. Can't remember, yeah, here we go. So if I was to accelerate her, you could see obviously this would dramatically alter the cost. So you could see here she would arrive in November 1944. But that's something to consider. Would it be worth really accelerating her until later? But the thing is, how? Then again, I really am tempted to have the Shinano. The thing is, if I was to halt her construction, it's a lot of time lost. So if I halt it for the year, she's not going to arrive in 44, she's going to arrive in 45. Damn. That's a shame, really. Okay. It's something to consider. It's something to consider. Her air capacity is only 47, so that's a shame, but her armor is rather impressive. Actually, then again, the Taiyo has more deck armor, and she's a cheaper ship. She's faster too. Damn it. Okay, it's a shame, but I'm probably going to have to cancel the Shinano. I was hoping I could use the Shinano, but oh well, guess not. Yeah, these guys don't arrive for some time. But the Junyo class we could actually accelerate, so we could have Junyo and Hyo rather soon. So if I was to actually accelerate her, you could see that she would arrive. Well, that hasn't actually updated. But you can see the build cost has increased. So normal is actually quite considerably different. So let's see here. Points needed. So we obviously do need more naval points here. So if I halt the construction of Shinano, actually doesn't update this. Ugh. Yeah, the Shinano was built on a Yamato hull. Yamamoto hull? Yamato hull. Yamato? Ah! Okay, I think I'm at that point now when I'm really getting tongue-tied. We'll talk more about this in the next session, I believe. But what we'll do is we'll continue... Well, you know what, actually... I think we'll call the session here. I'm getting quite tongue-tied. We do have plenty more time. I'd say we'll probably have another 2 sessions at minimum, really, till we have the full turn setup. So I'd like to thank you all so very much for watching Convoy Simulator 2018. It's really getting quite exciting. I'm actually moving on to different classes of cargoes now. But no, it's not too bad. What we'll do then in the following session is we'll finish off the cargo, well, the convoys. We'll have then the convoys that, well, the cargo ships that aren't being used sent to, like, Osaka, Kyoto. Well, Tokyo really is where they want to go, so they can be converted. But then we'll take a look more into tactics, really with the Imperial Japanese Navy, Air Force, and Army. We've talked a little bit about the war in China, but what we'll have to do is talk about the war in Malaya, Borneo, the Dutch East Indies in general, really. So, yeah, there's a lot to do. I've got a lot of reading to do as well. I do have War Plan Orange, which I imagine would be rather interesting. So, yes, there's a lot to do here. Submarines are going to be really intriguing, as we'll have to set up their patrol routes. We're going to have to set up the planes from Kitabutai. So if we take a look over here, we're going to have to take a look at their elevation. Well, altitude, sorry. So they're set to altitude 100 for the airfield attack, which is pretty good. So that would count as a strafe. Well, yeah, strafe, which is pretty good, and they're pretty effective at that. But yes, then we'll have to go into pilot training. There's a lot to do. So yes, I've got to stop saying that. Thank you so very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great. If you are considering supporting these series, then please do consider supporting myself and the channel. It really would make a difference. I will again be playing against the historical gamer, so you'll be able to find his channel out there. I'm sure somebody will be able to post a link to that. But yes, if you would like to consider supporting me, that would make a massive difference. You can find me on Patreon at XTRG, or there will be links below to my PayPal, which would be great. So thank you so very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know this is a little bit of a boring series to begin with, but it's going to be lengthy but worthwhile, as we will have the entirety of the Japanese Empire geared towards defeating the historical gamer, which is going to be fantastic. So, thank you, and goodbye. See you all next time. Have a great day or evening wherever you are. Until next time.